What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Coming straight to you from a car somewhere. Because as we all know, cars are where good videos are made.
I was looking at the chat and not at the screen, like at what you were like pushing through on your green screen. I saw the car. Sorry, that's hysterical.
Well, tonight we have a Christian that's coming straight from his vehicle, and he is going to be telling us how God definitely has to exist because life cycle things, apparently. Like, apparently because there's life cycle for certain things, and that's taking the life cycle kind of term loosely, but just because things have life cycles, apparently, that proves that God exists. So we're going to be going over that. So now, this guy right here has foolproof evidence that God exists. Okay? Yeah, we're not going to be able to disprove his bullshit whatsoever. So I hope that you heathens are strapped in. You got your butt holders a holding, okay? Because this is in no way dumb as shit. And he is definitely not a fucking idiot.
Ding.
Okay. So there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in God. That say there's no evidence that God does exist. Obviously, they've never seen God.
Well, I don't think anybody's ever seen God. I mean, if somebody says that they've seen God, I might call bullshit on that. Everybody that says, oh, I've seen God, if they're talking about literally seeing God, they end up in a padded cell. If they're like, no, I'm metaphorically seeing God, don't worry, don't put me in the straitjacket. No, let me back in. Anyways, Terrence Clark, $2, butt holder strap. Let's do this. Now, the butt holders are protect your asshole from God, okay? As we learned today earlier on the channel, he will come deep inside you, okay? Unless you have them butt holders on.
Well, you also have to have that butt plug.
And the butt plug, that's right. Well, no, that's for the demons.
Oh, yeah, that's
demons.
Does it have to be the baby Jesus butt plug?
Well,
to prevent demons?
To prevent demons, yes. But we're talking about God coming in your ass.
Oh, I don't know what to do about that.
Really, nobody has, but...
Okay, so he did admit that nobody has. Okay, good. Sorry, I stopped you too quick. That's my bad. That's my fault.
If you look around you, there is logical evidence that God does exist, okay? So bear with me for a minute. Think about anything on Earth, right? Everything that you see has a life cycle. So you, for example, at one point in time, you were created, you're currently living, and someday you will die. That's your life cycle. You're created or you're birthed, you live, and then you die, right?
Okay, so he says that this is how God is proved to us. Like that particular thing is what proves God. But what he's neglecting to tell you is that there are natural processes that can explain how we form in the womb and then we're birthed and everything like that and then we die. Like, there's natural process for all that shit. If you can explain something with a natural process, then that means that you don't need a supernatural God explanation in order to explain it. So what he's doing here is special pleading for God, saying that he needs to be there in order to create everything and for everything to be created. So you could call this like moving the goalposts, because then you're pushing God out, further into the unknown or whatnot, which is what we'll kind of get to here in a minute.
So take another example. Take a tree. At one point in time, the tree was created. The tree is currently living or being, and eventually the tree will die. Okay?
Okay, for one thing, we are not created. We grow inside of a womb because an egg and a sperm, they fucking melded together and they did shit, and then a clump of cells formed, and then over a long period of time, the cells kept on multiplying, and they eventually formed into a structure that is you, and then you're born into the world. We weren't created. Trees weren't created. There's a natural process to explain why trees create seeds, and then those seeds can grow into a tree. Like, there's natural processes for all that. So we don't need any kind of supernatural explanation to actually say that God was needed in order to make all that shit happen.
Pretty simple. Now let's take something that's not living. We'll take a road, for example. At one point in time, the road was created, right? The road is currently being, or it's living, whichever you would like to call it.
I'm sorry. Did you just say that the road is living? What are you even fucking talking about? The road is not a living creature. The road is built. A road isn't just created. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Tell me if I'm wrong, honey. Tell me if I'm wrong, audience in the chat. But when I think of something just being created, I feel like poof, fucking magic.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you would call, like, a work of art a creation, I think. Like,
Well, yeah, but
like you
yeah, okay, I can understand that.
So, I mean, I don't think created would be the best word to use for, like, a building project, like a road. But, I mean, it's not totally, like, it's not totally inaccurate. It's just not the best word. The road was built.
Right.
The road was constructed. Something like that created. I don't know. That just seems a little frilly for it.
Yeah, I think it makes it a little bit nuanced, like with the created part. But anyways, so the road wasn't necessarily created, but it was built. And it was built by a person using different technologies in order to build the road. Those are natural things, so we don't need any kind of supernatural idea. Well, what he's doing here is the whole watchmaker argument or argument from design or something like that. So like there are complex things that are built or created, and so therefore there needs to be a god that built and or created everything. And this fails on a lot of different levels. It fails with the false analogy. This is a bad analogy, but also the human and the tree are bad analogies. So it's just an extreme version of like the false equivalence, whatever, that you want to put out there. And basically what these people do is they take like the universe and they try to compare it to things that are done here like locally, be it, you know, some kind of human creation like a watch or a car or a Lamborghini or something like that, and they compare it to natural things like plants and animals and all this other shit. And so it fails heavily because you can't compare unnaturally created things that are made by humans to naturally created things that we have natural processes for. They also work on different scales as well. So he just, I don't know if he knows that he's doing a bad job of this, but I mean, I have to say that the whole, oh, the roads are living thing was just fucking hilarious and new to me.
And eventually the road will die.
The road will die, honey. You know how roads die?
Yeah, I don't understand this. Oh, sorry. How do roads die?
Well, you know that one particular service road we go on sometimes, and it's like all bumpy and everything like that?
Sure.
It's right next to the Wendy's.
Oh, yeah.
That's a dead fucking road because guess what?
Oh.
18-wheelers have smashed that thing's spine into non-existence.
Oh, yeah. I don't like to drive on that. I think we've only been on that like twice.
So I think that trying to characterize an inanimate thing as like a living thing doesn't really help your argument here, Titleist Bud.
Okay, or cease to be. Either or. So that being said, if you look around you, every single thing on Earth has a life cycle, okay? Whether it's obvious, like it's a bug or something, or whether it's the Earth itself, everything has a life cycle. So eventually, at one point in time, everything was created or birthed. It's currently living or lived, and then it...
Hey, you know what? Maybe don't fucking film in your goddamn car so you don't have to constantly look out for people that you're not gonna hit, you know, or people that you might hit. Don't make this shit in your car to where you have to, like, constantly be looking out.
Does he think his car is alive? He said everything either has lived or is living. Not everything is living. Like, that fucking bookshelf is not alive.
No. But he's talking the more abstract and ambiguous life cycle. Like, you know, for instance, like the PS4 has a life cycle where it was, you know, designed and built and everything. It's marketing, and now it's kind of in sustainment. And then eventually they'll quit making it and they'll taper off like support for it until they finally end support. And that's the entire life. You know, it's like a life cycle of a program. He's being more ambiguous and abstract about it.
Because he doesn't really understand it.
Well, no, he doesn't understand it. And you can't compare that kind of life cycle to like the life cycle of a human or a tree or anything like that.
Because it's going to die or it has died. Very simple, right? So that being said, if you look at things on a much larger scale, such as the universe, the universe is currently living, which means eventually the universe will die.
The universe is not a living creature. Like, I get that there are some people that want to get all spiritual about it and say that it is and whatever, but I mean, that's taking the whole living kind of definition into a realm where it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It's like when you find something so abstract that it can literally mean anything. Like you're doing with the life cycle fucking thing.
Or cease to be. Those two statements being said means that the universe at some point had to be created or it had to be birthed.
Okay, using your shitty fucking logic, then that would just be the Big Bang. But even then, we have hypothetical theories, or well, not scientific theories, but we have hypotheses where we have hypothesized what happened to make the Big Bang happen. But it's regardless of what made the Big Bang happen, it's still a fact that the Big Bang happened. And so, if you want, this is where the moving the goalpost comes in, because he's trying to move God into the gaps of our knowledge, God of the gaps argument. And he's trying to move God to before the Big Bang happened, because everything after the Big Bang has a natural process. And I'm guessing that he knows this. But he's trying to say, well, God is the one that started it. And then after that, he's responsible for everything that happened. But yeah, he wants to attribute God to everything that's happened or has happened or is created in his eyes. They're not really created. They form, with these natural processes that we already know about.
Right? Because everything around us has a life cycle. Now, jump back to you for an example in your life cycle. Something had to create you or give birth to you.
I was not created. I grew from the meeting of an egg and a sperm when my mom fucked my dad, okay? And however regretful of a decision that was for them, that still doesn't mean that they, created me.
I'm happy about it.
I know you are, baby. I'm happy about it, too. I love being alive.
Which is your mother. Something had to create a tree, right? Which was a seed.
No, a seed doesn't create a tree. Do you understand why I have a problem with you saying it creates it? You're abstract. This should just be, abstracting everything out into nothing. That's what this video should be called, because that's what he's doing. He's abstracting the word created to mean formed, birthed, or came into being, or whatever. He's abstracting it out to where it doesn't mean anything, just like he's doing with the word life cycle, just like he's doing with just about everything in this video.
From its mother tree, and something had to create a road, which was workers. So something created all of these things. Something started the life cycle of another being or another thing. Now, if you jump back to the universe, something had to create the universe to give it life, or to create the universe so that it could live.
Well, no, we don't have to have anything to create the universe. We know that the Big Bang happened, and it happened naturally. We don't know what kicked off the Big Bang, but that doesn't mean that God had to be the one in order to kick it off. We have multiple hypotheses out there that suggest what might have happened before the Big Bang, but what we do know is that anything that happened before the Big Bang is of no consequence after the Big Bang. I don't care whether or not you push God into the nether regions of our knowledge, but keep it the fucketh out of reality, because God does not belong in reality. God has no effect on reality. God doesn't do anything that we can actually detect in reality. He is supposedly above reality or outside of reality. That's why he's supernatural. If you have a natural process or a natural explanation for something, then you do not need a supernatural explanation.
Right? So whether it's a higher being, whether it's God, whichever one you want to call it, something had to create the universe. Because something can't be created out of nothing. It's never been done.
You can't say that. You can't say that something has never been created out of nothing. Unmoved mover, however you want to pronounce it. This has been an argument for God's existence for a while, that, God is uncreated. Therefore, he could create everything. He could be the starting point.
When you say the unmoved mover, it just sounds like some kind of constipation problem.
For instance, there's the whole idea of a steady state before the Big Bang happened, and something nudged it out of that steady state and caused a big explosion. Then another hypothesis is that matter and antimatter were flying around in chaos and slammed in, and then what exists now of the universe is the result of all of those, of the matter and antimatter slamming together, canceling each other out, creating a big explosion, the Big Bang, and everything like that. That's one hypothesis.
Not an explosion.
Well, it's not an explosion. It's a rapid expansion. Sorry. I get caught up with the Big Bang thing, and anyways.
I know. Well, because a lot of them describe it that way, as a big explosion.
Yeah.
And it'll never be done. So something had to create the universe. Something had to give birth to the universe. Whether that's God or a higher being, either one, it's all around us. It's irrefutable evidence that something has to exist. Whether it's a higher being whether it's God.
What's the difference between a higher being and God? Like, I thought God was a higher being. I guess he means like higher being as in like, I guess aliens maybe? I mean, I say that aliens are just as likely. I still feel that like a natural explanation is going to be way more plausible than like alien kind of idea, but I would think that aliens would be way more probable than like God existing. Basically what this guy says is that everything has a beginning, therefore there has to be an uncreated creator at the beginning to create everything, and that's how he creates everything, or that's how there definitely has to be a God. I'm just gonna make a wild-ass assertion that he's probably Christian, being that he's obviously driving somewhere in the United States. He's mid-20s white guy, probably. Most likely you're going to be Christian. So you're not technically advocating for just some kind of ambiguous God up there. What you're technically advocating for is the Christian God. And there's no way that you can actually prove a Christian God with this whole unmoved mover idea. I mean, could you prove that there's some kind of amorphous deity up there with that? I don't really feel like you can, but I know a lot of people hang on to that amorphous idea of a God, and I guess that's fine as long as you don't like start killing homosexuals for it or something like that, or judging other people for not believing in that particular thing. I don't think that you can actually prove that. It's a lot like solipsism, right? Solipsism is where you can't distinguish between actual reality and you just being a brain in a vat or being in a simulation or something like that. There's no way that we could there's no way we would be able to prove one way or another if we were in a simulation or not. And so it doesn't really help us in any kind of way. You won't be able to prove it one way or another. So it's really just one of those weird fucking tools in your tool chest that you don't know how it got there. You don't know what it's used for. You just know that at one point in time you thought you needed it. Anyways, so that's it for the video tonight. Thank you for visiting my vehicle. I know that you probably enjoyed it as much as I did. Please wipe your feet before you get back in here. I don't want all this sort of dirt shit in my car, okay? Be respectful of other people's property. Do not make videos and drive, even if you are a Christian, if you're a flat earther, whatever, do not make videos and drive. This is very dangerous. You could hurt other people. You could hurt yourself. So don't do it. Stop fucking doing it. If you're leaving right now, I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to visit if there happen to be links on the screen here, which maybe YouTube will fix their shit soon. Hit one of those links, subscribe, all that kind of good shit, and we'll see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, all that kind of good shit.